All right, what do we got? We got the Eastern Odyssey tournament starting tomorrow, and it's going to be there's two different courses, a newer one, and I think it's Kung Ho. Let's see, it's two different courses. I always hate it when it's on two different courses, or five or three. I don't know. I'm going to pronounce that all wrong. It's Shaifeng Basin and Kohong Resort. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Let's go to got to use Tommy's site because I'm sure that it's not on Golf Clash Notebook. The Kung Ho courses might be on there, but the other course is definitely not going to be on there. It won't be in order, so let's take a look at it. All right, this hole right here. This is in tournament play. I've played this hole a bunch of different ways. And one-on-one, I always play it out into the shadow. And if you're using it's a great hole for a rock quarterback. You can come out here 2 to 3 rings off of this transitional surface wherever your red line's at. If you're getting a headwind, pull back from the headwind, take the wind out. You can do max overpower and max curl and just try and get as far up there as you can. Obviously, the farther you can get, especially if you're playing it with a ball that doesn't have a lot of side spin. You may have to do some curl to get up towards the cup, but you got a great shot from out here with your wood. And if you can get up into the shadows, you can clear the lane. So if you draw along this rough line and you're drawing out here, I mean, the farther you can get out into this zone, you can set yourself up, give yourself a couple rings of separation and use your side spin and come back to the cup. But if you're in this area, you'll have to, your ball guide's going to be going off out here, and even with side spin, you'll have to use curl to get to the hole. But there is a great shot from out here, and it's a wood, and it's super, super safe. A lot of people I see play this hole play it from right here, and the thing I don't like about this hole, about this shot, is you can screw up, and it's not that you can't recover, but you can screw up down here, and even if you don't screw up and you're on the top, you do have some options. You can, if you're hitting into this area, you can do a rough bump. You can bounce off the island. You can try and backspin it on. If you're trying to bounce any of these shots, you really want to know what your wind adjustment is. I think the few times that I've played this shot from up here, coming down, if the wind's not blowing right and you've got to hit it off this island, it's like a plus 30. It is way, I mean, you're way the hell up here and the green's way the hell down here. It is way downhill. But there is a great rough bump from here, and it's one of the T rough bumps, and I like this type of rough bump. And this sand coming up to the rough is pretty gradual. So when you pull over the sand, it doesn't tend to distort your rings and get you all jacked up. So it is a pretty easy pull if you want to do that rough bump and from this area. So it's not that's not bad, but there is a big wind adjustment you need to do. The other thing you can do is there is a max overpower hook shot you can do going this way, trying to bring yourself down into, landing out in here. And I think when I was doing this, you can do it with a quarterback and like a katana, or you don't have to bring out necessarily a big club. The deal is you don't want to get too far forward in your shot. You want to have your first bounce coming into this area right here so that you're going off in this trajectory. I've ended up in this rock, and you can get lucky sometimes and hit that rock and bounce out into the fairway. But there is a max overpower hook shot that you can do from that direction. The thing I don't like about the max overpower hook shot from that direction is shit can go wrong. You can end up in the sand, and you can recover if you got a Spitfire from the sand. And it's part of the reason why I know, like, hitting down into here, if you end up in the sand trap, there is a big adjustment if you're using a Spitfire to get, you can recover very easily, but there is a big adjustment if you're bouncing off that island. If you just do a straight up shot, you're going to be in trouble. The other way to do it is you can do a max overpower hook shot and come out this way. And once again, you don't have to bring out, I think I was using an APOC, but I was just using a katana. Maybe, I don't think you have to bring out as big a ball. You might even be able to do it with a Quasar. When you're looking at this rock over here, setting it up, there's a spot, like if you're, usually the way that I work max overpower hook shots, and I know that there's a guide out there for like how many rings you should pull, but typically what I do is I set it up where I want the ball to be, and then like here's 5, and then here's a full ring set, that's 15, and then here's another ring set, there's 20, and so I'll start off and I'll do 21, which I think is out here by this rock. It's right at the edge of the rock where the rock starts to distort the ball guide. And what I normally do is I do the rings like that the very first time I ever take a shot. And so if I take the shot and I set it up, what I'm looking for is a landmark out here. Like my ball guide gets interfered with the tree, or as soon as I hit the rock and the ball guide starts to go wonky, that's my mark. Or my white ring's off of the rough, or I find some spot out there to and I remember that spot. So if I hit here, I obviously need to go out farther. If I hit here, I obviously need to go in farther. If I hit in the middle, I still have some distance here, so I can come in a little, maybe a half a ring or a ring, depending on what hole you're at. And so then I start to work it like artillery, and I start to adjust it, and then I don't worry about the rings anymore. I don't need to go through that rigmarole because I have a spot. I go back to that spot, and then I move it in a ring. Or if I was way over here, I move it in 2 rings. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to actually get over to here. I want to know what it does to fail on this side and what it does to fail on this side. Then I have a range. But there is a max overpower hook shot you can do here. If you have an APOC, I think I think it's like level 4 or level 4, 5, and 6 are all the same curl. Let's look. Let's look here. Let's look at APOC. There's a point where it gets a certain amount of curl on it, and it'll reset the page. It'll reset the page. Thor's Hammer APOC. Yeah, so when it gets the 98 curl, it's even better. But when it gets to the 92 curl, so we're talking 3, 4, and 5, especially when it gets to level 4 or 5, when it gets that extra distance and it gets up there to its max distance. If you've got an APOC that's in that level, really the way to go at this hole, especially because back in the past we weren't able to do this because we didn't have 5 side spin balls. So you're not going to be able to get all of the top spin that you want, but there is a max curl shot that you can do coming from here and bringing it around, and you can end up out in the zone. If you put max topspin on it, you can actually overshoot it. But you can end up out here, and you don't have to take a lot of the risks that you take when you do a max overpower hook shot. The thing about the max overpower hook shot is that it works out fine. Let's say you're doing a day and you got this kind of wind, and then the next day you got tailwind. I always step my shot up and then take the wind out. But if you've got wind that's blowing like this, at the beginning of your shot when it's going through its hook, that wind's pushing it off. And then it's affecting it different. But when you're doing it this way, you're not picking up any of that extra. Variable wind can change your spot. And it may be as much as just like, a half a ring. Like if you're getting wind like this, you need to be a half a ring more towards the fairway. And if you're getting tailwind, you need to be, a half a ring more towards the right. And there's micro adjustments when the wind changes, but if you can't stay up with it, you really need to practice. Go out there and practice a hole just to make sure that the wind's right. But if you're doing this max curl shot, you can take that variable out because you can work the wind just like we normally do and end up out in that zone. So that's definitely how I'm going to play that. And that's just because I have an APOC and I'm going to play it this way. Trying to get out into here. I believe, if I remember correctly, that the shot going to the cup, there's like a plus 10. It's somewhere in that neighborhood, wherever you're at in your club. It's pretty flat when you're out here, and so it might be like a plus 5, or it's pretty damn close. But when you're up here, you are a little bit elevated from the hole, and you're definitely elevated from the hole here. Definitely. Kmart sucks. Hole number 2. And I can't even remember how to play this hole. I'm not sure if there's a rough bump that you can do here, or if we're just going straight at it. I'm going to practice this hole. These holes I don't have a lot of time and grade on, so we'll practice it. We'll go out there and just see what it looks like. How many of these I think I have 3 practice tokens, so I'm going to put something on to give me some practice tokens. I may have to practice those holes, but the Kung Ho Resort holes, I don't really need to practice those. We've played those a bunch of times. Bunch of times. right. I will just take that bag right there. Why not? I probably don't need to take that ball though. Let's just take a, we'll take a nav. Probably need it, if there is a rough bump out there, I probably would need a club with a lot more, or a ball with a lot more curl. Hey, that's not the way. That's not the way. Keep hitting the wrong button. So when I was going up the ranks originally, I went, played rookie for a while, and then I went to pro, played pro for a very short period of time, then went to expert. Played expert for a while, and I played for about 9 months, and then I went to masters. I played one masters tournament and was like all hot and heavy about playing masters tournaments, and then I got deployed for a year, and that was the end of that. I didn't have time to practice. So I was just I just played rookie. I was playing this account, my 77 account, and I was using Odyssey for my practice account, and because it didn't cost me anything, I didn't really have to put the time into it in order to be really good. I mean, if you're playing masters or expert, you got to put in some time in order to get the holes down. Otherwise, you're just mid-pack. And back then, the thing about it is that we don't have now is now you pay to get in the tournament. But back then, you pay to get in the tournament, the same amount. Then you paid for every hole because you had the opportunity to win a chest because we went to shootouts. So if you were playing an expert, it cost $1 million every hole, and if you were playing in pro, it's what, 10 million a hole or some number like that, 4 million. I can't remember what the number is, but it was a lot. So you could end up losing a lot of bankroll unless you really went out there and got jiggy with it. And there's Guardian. There might be. Let's swap that ball out and let's see with a katana. There is a rough bump you can do here. How much topspin I got on that? 6. If I went to Grizzly, do I have enough? The Grizzly? No. Well, maybe. I think if I got right up on it. So you do have enough. You could get up there. Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. 2.6. Hitting it perfect. That was just a straight up shot. You're definitely down here. You should probably add on a little. Definitely add on a little. That's why I missed the rough. But there is definitely a rough bump there, so that's the way. Goliath would probably work better, especially if the winds are higher, because you don't have to do as much of a pull. And you've got more topspin, so you can be deeper into the rough. So if you do screw your pull up like I just did, you're still going to hit the rough. Most of the rough bumps, not all of them, but I like to be, it's either 2 or 3 rings into them. And I have found on a lot of holes that if you're, let's say you set up and you're 2 rings into the rough. I try not to set up 1 ring into the rough if I can help it, but there's some holes that, like, especially if you're using a Grizzly, there are some holes like that where you may have to just be 1 ring into it. But I try and give myself 2, and there's times where, like, you'll get irregular bounces on 2, pull it back to 3, or you're at 3 and it's not rolling out right, so push it up to 2, and it'll make a difference. There's one of the par 4s I can think of that I was setting it up with 2, and it always seemed like it bounced out irregularly, and I watched one of my opponents one day and his ball just bounced out, and it was so beautiful, and he was 3 rings off and made it. He went first, and then I went, and I did the same exact shot I've been doing all week, and I was at 3, and I pulled it to the 3 rings, and it bounced out perfect. So don't be afraid to change that up if you feel like your ball's not bouncing out right. All right, there's definitely a rough bump there. It's all becoming clear now. Okay, so what hole are we on now? Hole number 3. Hole number 3. All right. Now, I will say that this area out here is all spectators. If you hit the ball out here in tournament play, you're going to get a lot of people pissed off at you because there's a bunch of people standing out there. Okay? This is where they hold weddings and stuff. We don't hit out there. You can hit out here to the tip. I suppose if you were in pro, this is the way to go. You're going to hit out here to the tip, and then you can bring it around, and you can use this little window right here with a big wood. Okay, respect this hole. Bring a big wood because it is a long ways to get up there. A bigger ball would help you too. But you'll have to work this out with your bag. You'll have to figure out what ball club combo. This is why the first day I play any tournament, I always got the first day and I could care less about what my shot is to the cup. I'm just trying to figure out, where do I really want to land? Do I want to land here? Do I want to land here? Do I want to land here? Where do I want to land? And what club do I need and what ball do I need to get to that spot? And then what does that give me for my second shot? Because a lot of times you might work for like, oh yeah, I'm going to get out into this area. And you get out into that area and you go, man, my second shot sucks. I would have been better off just hitting it right here. Not necessarily on this hole, but just as an example. So the first day out, I'm not worried about any numbers to the cup or any of that because I have no idea if that's the spot I'm going to be hitting from the next time. So I could, don't worry too much about it. The first thing we need to know is what clubs and what ball we're going to bring. So if you're hitting out into this area, first of all, you're going to piss all these people off. And second, you really need a big, think about it. From right here to here is there is a rough bump that you can do here. And you can do it with a Guardian. A Guardian works out really good, especially if you got an upper developed Guardian. It's got pretty good ball guide, and it does have enough topspin to get you up there. But if you get far enough out there and you've got the right stuff, you can. I think you can get it with a sniper. The thing is with a sniper, if I remember this hole correctly, is that even if you get up here right, you may be pretty close to max club, and if we've got a headwind day, you may have an issue trying to pull it out. And the last thing you want is to have to do a shot where you've got overpower trying to hit a rough bump. Because if you put a little too much or a little too little on, then it's either a little too much, you miss the rough and you go bouncing off in the For Neverland, and if a little too little, you're in the sand. You want to be able to have enough room here to work the wind out. So once again, you'll have to figure this out with your clubs. But I think if you get out into somewhere out in this zone so that you can use that T rough bump, the other way to go is from here, and you can get bounce number 1 on this side, and then you can roll it over to the cup. And this is going to probably be the most common shot taken this week. If you get far enough out here, depending on what you brought. And the thing about using a Guardian, this is one of the things about using a Guardian on a shot like this, is if you get out into this area and you find yourself in a spot of bother, let's say the wind was blowing headwind and your red line was a little short and you couldn't quite get to the rough bump. The benefit of a Guardian is that you can put on 100% backspin. You can do a max overpower shot, and if it hits on the fairway over here, it's going to stick it onto the green. Okay? And that's one of the benefits of, and I think it does have enough topspin to get you over there. Even before it gets maxed out. When it gets maxed out, it's at like 4 topspin, I think, when it gets maxed out, but most of its life it lives around 2.5. So it doesn't have a lot, but I think even with I think you can get it done with the Guardian. I'm pretty sure. But most people are going to come out here and get bounce number 1 and just try and stick it out into this area, rubbing up against this rough, and then shot number 2 is going to be bounce number 1 and then bringing it around to the cup, running it up there. Here's another little key point. This is something you need to practice. You need to go out there at least one time and just do it on purpose. Even if you end up in the right spot, like you get your drive right, end up in the sand or this rough. And if you got a Spitfire, if you can get your shot onto this fairway, obviously the farther up you can get it, the better. But you can do a max overpower hook shot. And I believe if I was in this zone right here with in this area with my Spitfire, I could get a bounce up in here, and my pull was like white ring off of this transitional area, max curl, and you can do a max overpower because you won't be able to get over there. You might not even be able to get over to the other side of this with topspin with a rough iron or your sand wedge. But if you do a max overpower hook shot, you can get, number 1, the overpower to get you up there a little bit further, and then the hook will whip you. and you can recover, but that's a shot that you have to practice. So if you end up in the sand down here, that could be something that could save you, because it is pretty easy to end up in the sand down there. All right, enough of that hole. Enough of that hole. We've played that hole a bunch. Hole number 4. Hole number 4. I don't remember this hole either. This par 3. This, we just got to be going straight out. There's if I remember, this might be the hole that there is once again a rough bump that you can do on this off of this. This is not my preferred way to do rough bumps. I really like T rough bumps as opposed to these I rough bumps. And the reason I don't like these I rough bumps is, you know, when you think about your ring set, shit, you're a ring. So any grate to the left or the right, you're either in the sand or you're on the fairway. And the most important part of a rough bump is hitting the rough. I'm just saying. But I think there was a rough bump that we could do off of this, but we had to, it was once again a Goliath. And it might have been down in this area. I like, if I'm going to do these types of rough bumps, I do like this type of area right here better. Because if you can set yourself up more in the middle, you give yourself a little bit more leeway. The other thing is you got a lot more wind variability. So like if the wind's blowing from any direction that's on this side of the sand, I'm not interested in doing this rough bump. This is definitely a hole I'd want to have two shots in my bag. If the wind's blowing from this direction or anything where I can pull along that and I don't have to involve myself in that sand, I would probably do the rough bump if I had to be in that area. But if the wind was blowing in this area, I'd either come straight at it or try and find some other shot. Obviously, we can either come up here and try and backspin it in, or we can try and just float it up to the cup. But let's go out there and see if there is a rough bump. I can't remember if there's a rough bump on this hole or not. There might be. There might be. I'm going to bring the same ball because it's got side spin. And I'm going to bring whatever bag it is that I have that has a Goliath in it. Because no matter what, I think you got to have a Goliath. And my Goliath is 1.9 per ring at max. It's 1.9, 2.3, 2.9. Yep. Mm-hmm. Hole number 4. Practice. Practice, practice, practice. Do I have those practice tees on? I thought I bought one. Did I put it on? I bought it, but then I didn't put it on. Because I was like, hell, you're guaranteed to get one the first hole. I did that once before, and I was like, hey, I got 2 things going, and I forgot to activate them. I had them going, but I forgot to turn them on, and I ran out of practice hooks, and I'm like, what the hell? All right, we'll practice these par 3s. It looks like maybe all of the par 3s are going to be from this particular course, and then there must be one other hole. I think there was 4 or 5 of these, maybe 5 of them. So, a couple. Oh, is there a rough bump from over here? No, no way, no way. Well, I kind of like Max short iron. Kingfisher's weakness is always distance. 3-4. That would be 3.1 rings. It's 1.1 per ring. If I just did a straight up adjustment, there's 3, 1. Oh, and I hit it 1 ring great to the right. And the other way to get around that is to, if I wanted to play that, is to bring a 3 power ball. And that was about 1 ring great to the right, so that might just be a straight up shot. That would have been close. A 3 power ball would have helped me in a couple ways there. Number one, it would have helped me, so if I was on a day where there was headwind, I could have pulled back a little bit from the red line and got it where I wanted it. And on days where there was headwind, it would have gave me a little bit of leeway to push it forward and work the wind out. But a Goliath isn't going to have any, or excuse me, not a Goliath, but a pretty much any other short iron is not going to have any problems. Or like if you play with a Hornet, it's not going to have any problems because it does have more distance. I'm going to go check the distance because I know that the Kingfisher gets a little bit more distance as it goes up in level, but I still think it's shorter than a Hornet. Wherever it's at right now, that's as high as I'm ever going to get it. I'm never taking it to and go back and watch how my opponent set theirs up. I think they did a good adjustment. I mean, where they spun it around and they actually made an adjustment. They didn't eyeball it, I think. Let's see what the difference. I was thinking about my Hornet and my Kingfisher, and I wasn't paying attention to them. Dummy. All right, let's see what it does. Let's see. I will never take my Kingfisher to level 8, so it's at its max. If I had every club maxed out, it would be the one that I would use as a bank. Hornet. 88 versus 83. So with a Hornet, you could probably still, and it's got more topspin, so you can, with a Hornet, you might be able to get it done with the Hornet and not have to bring out a 3-power ball just because of that extra distance. When the Kingfisher does get maxed out, it does pick up a little bit of distance, a little bit of topspin, a bunch of backspin. One of the things about a Kingfisher that's great when you first start playing, as soon as you get the Kingfisher, you should start thinking about playing with it because it does have good ball guide and it has backspin. But what it's always weak in is distance. That's its weakness. All right, so we know how to play that hole now. I think with a bigger ball, I like the fact that we can go up at it with a short iron and not... I mean, you could bring out a lower power ball and hit it at minimum long iron. So, I mean, we have a lot of options there. But anytime I can pull out a short iron, I like that. I like it. I'd much rather hit with my short iron than my long iron. Hole number 5. All right. All right. There's 2 ways to play this hole, obviously. You can play it on the left or you can play it on the right. In one-on-one, I always play on the left. And this is my number 3 bag. This is my utility bag. It's Big Topper, and Big Dog, or Cataclysm, or Horizon if you play with Horizon. Horizon works great on this too. And Horizon gives you some benefits. It doesn't quite hit as far as the Big Topper and the Big Dog. I think it's like a little bit lower, but it's got better ball guide and it's got a lot, but it has a lot of topspin. And what I do over here is I line myself up along this edge, this transitional surface with my Big Topper. Adjust for the wind. You can do this with a low power ball. You can do it with a Marlin. Max overpower curl shot, bring you out into this zone right here. Your shot to the cup, you bring out your Big Dog and you set it up kind of in the middle of this fairway, max curl. You'll have to work out the top spin depending on where you end up out here. But you can easily get up here and you can get an eagle almost every freaking time you play this hole. If you're playing to the right, let's talk about the right. If you're playing to the right and you end up in the shit, you are SOL, shit out of luck. You are screwed. You might be able to get bounce number 1 here and roll it over and end up out in this zone and you still have a shot to recover. But you just put yourself in a world of hurt. Depending on where you fail out here, you might be able to get over to this side right here and run it up and get a little bit closer and give yourself a better shot at recovering, but you are screwed, especially if you brought a low power ball. Okay, respect this hole if you're playing it on the right. You might bring out a bigger power ball just so that if you do in that off event that you screw up, it will help you recover. But the thing about playing on the right is that you can go for an Albie, which you don't have a shot at Albie this way. I mean, well, you have a shot at it, but it ain't a good one. It's not good at all. Okay, but you can get an eagle really easy. Okay, because it's really hard to screw up. This fairway is like a mile wide. Max curl all the topspin on a Big Topper and just run it out there. You got plenty of room. If you screw this shot up once, I guarantee you won't do it again because you'll learn from where you set it up, like what your setup was that was wrong. But this for me is a blind curl shot. On this side, I play it with a rock and a kingmaker. And I want to try and give myself 3 rings of separation here. And this isn't one of those ones. I want to use the side spin of this kingmaker to get me, and I want to be as close to the center of this as possible. And I'm not really concerned about trying to get in front of that shadow. I want to be right at the edge of that shadow. If you're in the shadow, that's fine. But right there in that spot, you can get past it. But what you don't want to do is risk yourself getting into trouble. So I'm not trying to do any overpower. I'm not trying to do anything special. I just want to hit, and I want to leave myself enough room here so that if I do hit a grate to the left, I miss this sand and it rolls forward. And if I hit a grate to the right, I don't want so much topspin that I roll off, that it still stops in front of that shadow. So it doesn't take much. It's like maybe it doesn't take a lot of topspin, just like laying it up right here. I'm laying it up. And then you got a beautiful sniper shot right to the cup. This is one of those shots to the cup that always mystifies me. Like, it's got to be like a -10 or it's a 0, or it's like it really changes depending on which way the wind's blowing. But you'll have to work on this, but there is not much of an adjustment on it. And like, it's one of those ones that I've made this shot a lot, but I've also chased it a lot. Where I was like, man, I'm just going to do a 0. And that's like, damn, you should have did +10. And then I did +10, and it's like, damn, I should have did a 0. And then I do a 0, and then it's like, damn, I should have did -10. And sometimes you hit it, and it goes right in the cup. But I have chased this hole quite a bit over the years, and we've played this hole quite a few times. But if you want to go for Albie, you have to play it on the right. But in one-on-one, my recommendation is to play it on the left, because you can bring out a low-power ball and use your utility bag, and you can get an eagle almost every time. And most people will come out over here on the right-hand side in one-on-one, and if they don't bring out a big enough ball and they fail, they're screwed on the drive. Okay, they're screwed. And you can just beat them out on the course. 2 different ways to play. All right. I played this hole. If you bring out a big enough ball, there are ways that you can play. I was playing some Tour 8 in my odd account to try and get it up to pro, and I've caught this hole several times. You can come this direction right here. If you bring out, you can play it with lower powered stuff, with max overpower, and get what you're really focused on is bounce number 2 when you're in overpower. Like, where's that bounce at? Because I see this happen a lot of times where people bring out bigger stuff and then they overpower, and it's like, dude, did you not look to see where your second bounce was? Because your second bounce, when you brought out that bigger stuff, was like in the rough, and you want the bounce to hit in the clear and then bounce over the rough. Now here you could, if you caught the rough, you might be able to bleed out and do a rough bump and just end up on the tip. But if you bring out bigger power stuff, and this hole's pretty straightforward if you bring out something big. So I mean, if we draw a line from the cup to the tee box, I mean, if we can start off out of here, even one side spin and a little teeny bit of curl, we can get a run towards the cup. This is one of those ones with the topspin boost balls. You can really get up here and put yourself in killer spot. You can hit down the zone. So if you're hitting from one of the back tees, like hitting it through the zone and getting it up here and then giving yourself a great shot at it. I think the last time I played this with Dunner, he was practicing over on this side, checking it out to see what it looked like, and I didn't like the look. If you look at where this rough is, like this rough, let's get my pen working, this rough here and this rough here, as far as arc goes, we're in the same zone. So if I'm going to try and get through a rough, this rough here, I got run all the way to the cup. Whereas this rough here, you've got to stick it onto this green, and then you're giving yourself, a pretty good shot to the cup. But you've got a much longer shot than you do if you're getting over here if we draw the arc. So I'm going to play it to the right, and I will definitely bring out a bigger ball. And I'm not sure if you need to, like, you'll have to look through your ball inventory, but any ball that's got topspin boost might help, especially if it's a bigger ball with topspin boost. All right, hole number 7. I played this hole at +30 in one-on-one, and I believe that it is a sniper. This is another one of those holes that's a sniper shot with a side spin might help. starting off on this side right here, I'm not going to hit it off of this and then try and bring it over. I want to be on this side. So whatever in your bag, you need to bring whatever ball you need to bring to make sure that you're on this side of the cup. But I'm going to start at plus 30 and then go from there. It does roll out past the cup. So like if you terminate right at the hole, don't be surprised if it does roll out just a little bit. So kind of watch that. You don't necessarily need to put it, like if this is the cup and here's a square, we don't necessarily need to be a square back, but we don't want to be going through the hole because it will run off if we miss it. That's once again, with your clubs, you'll have to figure out where you're going to set it up based off what ball guide you have for what club you're bringing. But it is possible. This is not my favorite par 3 that's out there, but it is definitely a makeable par 3 starting off from this side right here. If you bring out big stuff, you can get more down in this area where you can go a little bit more straight at it. That's definitely a possibility on that hole. Definitely, definitely. I think the other two are probably more makeable par 3s, but that hole right there is definitely makeable. All right. This hole, if I remember correctly, we're just hitting down here to the tip and then going for the cup. Let's see where we're at. Yeah. Is that the deal? I suppose you could try and hit it down into this zone down here and then go for the cup. The thing I don't like about shots like over here, and I'm going to go play that. I'm going to practice this hole because I can't remember like what our red lines are as far as like where we can get. What is this, par 4 or par 5? Par 4. So I don't think we can make it over. Let's go. I'm going to go look at this hole. Let's go look at it. What hole was that? What hole was that? Hey, it's hole number 8. Hole number 8. We'll go practice hole number 8 once because I can't remember. It seems to me just by like looking at the picture there that we definitely want to go to the right. Faux show, but let's find out. Let's find out. Hole number 8. Practice. Did I not? What is the deal? Am I not getting any practice tokens off of the fucking thing that I paid for? One of my teammates sent a thing to play Demic and said, like, what's the deal with this? And then they explained how it works. Okay, we know how it works. Okay, I know how this works. Okay. It spins around, and if it hits an empty chamber, I paid for this. Give me my freaking practice tokens. Rat bastards. I do like that you can go in there and watch a video. I don't like watching the video, but at least they give you the option if you don't have a practice token that you can go out there and do it. I don't think that was like that before, but it is now. But I didn't get a practice token on that last hole. Do you not get practice tokens when you're practicing? Is that the deal? That must not be true because I've played before where the only thing that was giving me the tokens in order to play was the tees and the hole explosions. Hole number 8. If I can get an opponent. And I do not ever want them to not give us an opponent. Now, I know sometimes we get replays, but I want to always play with an opponent. I do not want to go out here and play by myself. I understand it in the golden tee, golden shot. I get it. But like when we're playing like this, we always want to go against somebody. I'm going to bring out... Let's start off with just a katana. Let's buy them. Yeah. Could you guys have made that more complicated? Where's my red line? Let's see where my red line is with the extra mile. How about with an APOC? How about with a Titan? So you got a little bit of a window if you're playing with a tailwind. I'm just going to do 3 topspin. 2-2, it's 1.5 per ring. It's a ring and a half. Could have put that wind back in, but I didn't. Hit it 1 ring great to the left. And I would like to get a little bit more distance. That sand, if you draw a line from where I'm at to the flagpole, I've got sand in between me and where I'm at. So I'm not sure how much more forward distance I've got, but I either want to have more forward distance or be more to the left, or excuse me, more to the right, and a little bit more distance to try and give myself a little bit of separation from that sand. So when I come up, I don't have to worry about the sand. I can set my second shot up wherever I want, and the sand's not in play. I don't have to worry about side spin. I don't have to worry about curl or any of that crap. My opponent is definitely got, and I don't think the sand's going to come into play, but anytime you can take a trap out of play, it's always better. Do I have distance? Yeah, I've got plenty. I've got lots of room that I could do. And this is another one of those ones where if you bring out the right club, you could you might be able to do it with a runner. Runner's got so much more topspin. You might be able to do a rough bump from there. 3-4. That's 3.1 rings. Do I have enough room? I'm going to add on a little. Oh, fuck, and then I hit it great to the left. If I hit anything perfect today and hitting it great to the left, get me in the rough. Once again, that's a short iron shot. So, I mean, if I got a little bit more distance, I think I had 3 topspin on there, so maybe 4 topspin and a little teeny bit of curl. Plus, I hit the drive, I think, great to the left. I suppose another way to go at that would be to try and hit off that island and bounce it up there, and you could use your big topper and run your topspin at it, and you might be in long iron, and you might be able to use your Goliath and do a rough bump with your Goliath. But I think the way I'm going to play it is trying to get all the way to the tip and come at it with my Kingfisher and not do the rough bump. Wind should not play a factor from here. We'll see. If it hits the flagpole, wind was not a factor. It was a little teeny bit of a factor. I was aiming right at the flagpole, and it pushed me over to the other side, to the right-hand side of the flagpole, so the wind was working about half as much. All right, we have some options on that hole, but I think the way I'm going to play it is just go straight forward, try and get it a little bit farther so I can open up that area. And let me go look at the picture. So down in this zone down here, where my red line, so I was coming at it from here, and the rough is at this angle. So pinching it up in this area, I didn't give myself a lot of room, but if I would have hit it forward just a little bit more, because I was like in this zone, so if I would have hit it to the right and a little bit more forward, my shot to the cup coming out, my red line being in this zone right here, I give myself a much bigger window, and I'm going to have more forward distance, not a lot more forward distance, because if we draw an arc, we're definitely inside of that arc. So we picked up some forward distance to push our red line forward, and we give ourselves a little bit more breathing room down here when we set that shot up. We can still play it at max, but we can pull back from the red line and pull it back a whole ring set and put your white ring along the red line. You're still in max club, but giving yourself a little bit of leeway, so if we have a day where we've got headwind, you still got room to work the wind out. So maybe 4 topspin instead of... Now on days where there is a headwind, I just barely had a window to get over here. It might be better to bring out, well, the other way you could do it too is bring out a bigger ball. You could bring out a 4-power ball so that you can give yourself a window. Hold on. Or a 5-power ball. But you could bounce off of this island right here with your big topper and try and run it down the lane as far as you can. With a smaller ball, you could probably do it with a katana, and you could give yourself a rough bump with your big dog. If you got down here far enough with your excuse me, not big dog, but Goliath. If you got down here far enough, you could still use this zone right here to do your rough bump and try and bleed it up to the cup. I'm not sure if there's enough topspin to do it, but it might have enough topspin. Maybe. It'd be worth looking at. Hole number 9. Hole number 9. Is this hole number 9? This is hole number 9. All right. This one is there's a shadow out here, and I really want to get into that shadow going towards the cup. It opens up the lane. You don't have to get all the way to the shadow to still have a pretty straight shot to the cup. But if you're in the shadow underneath right here, I can give myself a little bit of separation off of this peninsula, off of this transitional zone, and go straight at the cup. It does run out, so like if you put your ball guide right to the cup, maybe just a little bit short. If you got a headwind day, you'll probably need to go right at the cup, but on tailwind days, maybe leave your ball guide just a little short of the cup and it'll roll out. We do have a great shot here. If I remember correctly, like coming over to here, because your red line with a 3-power ball is like down in this zone, even with an APOC. So like trying to get it to go over, like if you brought out a big ball with big topspin boost and you tried to get over onto this pad right here, what you have in front of you, this might be one of those things that you work your ass off and you finally get over here and you're like, yeah, I got over there, and then you got trees in your way. You might be able to come at it like this. But I think the deal is that if there was a way to get over to the other side, it wouldn't be worth it because it would be too inconsistent. Hitting over to here, you can either start off on this side right here if you've got because you're pulling back from the red line. This is another shot that you could use a big topper on. Big topper's got two cool things. It's got topspin and it's got curl, and it gets both of those early in its life. It doesn't have a lot of distance. It doesn't hit any farther for most of its life than your quarterback or your rock. So it's not a big distance club, but it has some tools. And it has pretty good ball guide too. Once it gets up, its accuracy blows. But you can start off over here. If you got an extra mile that's upper developed, that's got a lot of topspin, you can start off over here, and then you don't have to put as much curl on it. I'm going to do a blind curl shot where I come off over here and I'm like going to be like 3.5 rings off with my APOC at max club, no overpower, and then just do a max curl shot to try and throw it down the lane. What I'll be working on is my topspin. The first thing I'll have to determine is how much side spin to use or how many rings off. I'll practice it one time. Do I have a practice? I do have a practice token. Hole number 9. I'll practice it one time. Hey, hold on. Let me switch. I think, do I have, let me look at my bag, make sure. I've been playing one-on-one and I switched my bags up to my one-on-one configuration, which is I play one-on-one with a Guardian. A Guardian and a Saturn. Why a Saturn? Saturn's got a lot of tools. It doesn't hit, it's not a long hitting club. And it's not a super accurate club, and it doesn't have the best ball guide. But what it does have is it's at 55, so it's at 1.9, 2 per ring, so it's easy to work out wind. It's got a shit ton of curl. It's got great backspin. It has like 3.9 ball guide, so I mean it's not bad ball guide. It has a lot of it. It's a great utility club. All of the commons, especially when you get them up and level, are great utility clubs. Like if you went out and played with just a common bag, especially if you used like your driver, a quarterback, your wood, a sniper, your long iron, a Saturn, your short iron, a claw, just with those 4 clubs. I'm always going to play with a Nirvana and my rapier and my Spitfire, but just your top four, your non-usual suspects, if you play those with common clubs and you've got them maxed out, those are great. It's a great utility bag because you can go out on a lot of new holes and you can play with them, and especially if you play a lot of one-on-one, you can go out and you can see like, hey, like on these holes, like this would have been better, or it'll tell you got good backspin, you got topspin, you got curl. Most of those clubs are great utility clubs. Great. I mean, you're playing one-on-one, you never know because the wind's variable and you just don't know what you're going to get yourself into. It's nice to have a club that's a great utility. Of great utility. You can't play it with a Titan. Where am I at? It's not telling me. Okay, there's... Three rings off, and I have no idea where I'm at as far as plus. I'm pretty close to minimum. I'm just going to take the shot. Perfect. Ah, hit the tree. Can't do a max curl. All right. Fucking playdemic. Damn playdemic. And you don't need to bring a big dog. Well, I suppose if you bring a lower power ball, you need to bring a big dog, but if you're playing with a 3 power ball, you do not need to bring a big dog. Faux show. And that's why you want to get all the way into the shadows, because if you're in the shadows, you don't have to have the side spin, and you can still give yourself separation from that transitional point. Like, that's bad. That was 2 rings great. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. But if you're up in the shadow, let's get up in the shadows. And I'm just going to get to I'm going to try and lay it up right to the edge of the shadows. It's kind of hard to get right into the shadows. It's easy to get right to the front, but it's hard to get into the shadow. Just lay it up there. That's right. Right where you want to be. Anything in front of that's better. But that spot right there will work fine. And it works better if you got a 3 side spin ball, so that if you don't get quite as much distance as you want, you can still give yourself a little bit of room from that peninsula and use your side spin to get you to the cup. And if I remember correctly, it's pretty damn flat, but I think we were adding on a little, but I'm not going to swear to that. In the hole. And I'm not going to get a second shot. Damn it. Damn it. Am I going to get a second shot? No. I do. Good. Because I think from there, you can give yourself a little bit of room and you can still bring it around to the cup. This is where the side spin comes in handy. Gave myself a little bit of room. 3.6. I'm just going to do a straight up shot. 3.6. Do I have room? No. That puts me 2 rings into power. I should have pulled back. I could have set that up. I set that up shitty. Hitting it perfect. Could you have done anything more wrong on that? Maybe a little extra against that wind. Maybe 5%, 10%. All right, there you have it. That's a look at them. Played some of the new ones. Didn't have to play the Kohungs. We played those a billion times. So Should be a pretty decent tournament. Let's go through and just look at them real quick. This hole right here, we do have a great opportunity. We do have an opportunity for eagle, but it's not the easiest one in the world. Even the shot that I'm going to take, where I'm going to curl it around and try and get over in here, you still got some work to get done. But you can get into short iron range out here. So if you can achieve your goal, you can at least give yourself a pretty good shot. But even from out here with a wood, especially if you can get way out into the shadow so that you can do a straight up shot, still bring a ball that's got some side spin on it. Just in case you don't get quite as much distance, so you won't have to do any curl, but you still got a great shot at eagle. It's not the easiest hole, but we do have a great shot on that hole. I think this par 3 right here, we do have a great shot. I think we did. I think that rough bump that's here is something we can work out, and this is going to be a great opportunity to pick one up right there. Hole number 3. This hole, I've made a bunch of albies on this hole, but this hole can be tough, and you've got to play this hole to your clubs. And I'm going to go for that rough bump that's up there. That's the shot that I'm going to be going for, so I'm going to have to work it out and play it a few times to make sure that I bring the right stuff. And then once I figure that out, then worry about what it's going to be to get to the cup. Another great opportunity here. I'm going to hit, I thought, looking at it, that there might have been a rough bump coming around, but maybe with a 4 or 5 side spin ball, there might have been from up here, but I'm just going to go straight at it. And if I remember correctly, if I brought out a 3 power ball, I could get in a short iron, and that's another great opportunity to pick a shot up. Another great opportunity to pick a shot up. Not as good as that hole number 2, but pretty good. Pretty good. This hole right here is you definitely have an albie opportunity. I mean, as far as like albies go, we definitely have an albie opportunity here. On the right-hand side. Getting up into the shadow. This is definitely a hole that we have a shot at. So there's another hole that we've got an opportunity to pick a shot up. This one right here is probably, at least so far for the par 4s, this is going to be, if we bring out the right ball and we can get over it into this area right here, we're going to give ourselves one hell of a shot to pick one up. Like, if there's any gimmies that I've seen so far, this one right here, this is a hole that we really want to bring out the right stuff on. Hole number 2 and this one right here, we really want to make sure that we try and capitalize on those 2 holes. For sure. There is a hole-in-one opportunity here. I've made a lot of hole-in-ones on this, but it's not one that I make hole-in-ones on all the time. But like we do have an opportunity to make a hole-in-one on this hole, and it's all about that adjustment, because it is way in the hell downhill. Hole number 8. I think this hole right here is a good shot, because once again, if we can get down into this zone down here to the tip, we've got a short iron to the cup, and anytime we can get on our short iron, that's awesome. I think we do have a great opportunity here. With the red line in this zone, if we draw an arc, we can get a red line out here. And I brought out a 3 power ball. If you brought out a 5 power ball, your zone would be up. And if you had top spin boost, I'm just wondering if there might not have been a max overpower hook shot that you could do to try and get yourself up here. But if you draw arc, even if you got up into this zone with a max overpower hook, and you had all of the shit to get over there, I'm not sure you'd be bettering your position any more than you would if you can just hit it to the tip, and this doesn't take a lot of effort. So I'm going to definitely be hitting it to the right and doing that shot, but there's a great opportunity there. Hole number 9, the first time I played this hole, I made it, but you got to get up underneath those shadows. And obviously you can't do a max curl shot, and I've done a max curl shot on here before, and it's gone. So I don't know if those trees have always been there or if they've modified them a little bit since the hole originally came out, but it does look like we're going to have to start off back here. And I might bring my big topper, because I'm pulling back from the red line, even with my APOC, in order to get my APOC red line was so far forward that, like, if I did max curl, I was on the water side of that line, so I had to pull back from the red line. But you definitely want the big ball for the second shot. So a big topper would work fine here, because you could run it out and really get yourself towards the tip to get underneath of the shadow. All right, I think this is going to be a low scoring tournament. I mean, talking about picking up 3 per side, we definitely have 3 on this that we can pick up on every side. So 24 being minimum plus 6, that's 30. So, I mean, it's going to have to be, I can see this being a 32 somebody in the weekend round. Like, it's going to be you're going to have to shoot 30 or better just to put yourself into the conversation. All right, thanks for watching. That was the walkthrough for the Eastern Odyssey tournament. It starts tomorrow. Everybody have a good tournament week and stay safe, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.